Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I am the senior minister here at the Oasis. And supporting me on the pulpit this morning is the wise and powerful Oz. He's our practitioner of the day. And Albertina Giuffre, we lovingly call Tina, who has been a soloist in our center for, 20 years. We are so blessed to have you all here with us today. I know there's 1,000 things you could be doing on a Sunday morning, and we're happy you're here with us. I also want to introduce my assistant, my faithful assistant, Faith, who has been lucky enough to be raised in religious science. So that's kind of cool, actually, because she has a very different take on life than most 16-year-olds. So we're really happy that she's part of our team. I also would like to tell you that we use Fairy Elaine Silver's music every week. The We Are All One song is one of hers. She was one of the first ones to ask us to do her music, and so we really appreciate her. And today we are going to be doing a song from Karen Drucker that Tina has mastered, The Art of Peace. So with no further ado, that's right. Today we've been doing our Back to Basics series, which is the first four chapters of the textbook that we use in our philosophy, and that is the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. Today we're going to focus on what it does. The first week we talked about the thing itself, the second week the way it works, and today we'll be doing what it does. And if you're here, please say hi. We don't have any way of knowing who's here if you don't say hi or hello. So please do that. If you'd like to do a watch party so you can watch the service with your friends, click on the watch party button, and then you can talk amongst yourselves, chat amongst yourselves, I should say. Okay, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Okay, so let's see. Here he is. This is one of those times, Faith, when it would have been really handy to have you add him because he's at the bottom.
I'm here.
You're here.
And I know that God is here right now with me, in me, as it is with each and all of you. For God is everywhere. God is within each thing, pushing it forward, creating it as it goes. this perfect power that creates perfection in all things and all times and all places. And I know that as I move forward through the service, that God's blessing comes through me and to you and from you to me. For this is the cycle. This is the circle of what. For being part of this, I give great thanks and I let the service unfold. And so
it is. Thank you, Oz. So this next song, like I said, is one of Fairy Elaine Silver's. It's a We Are All One. If you know the words, sing it loud, sing it proud, because no one else is listening. Since we're not in church, you can do it as loud as you'd like.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I have seen, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
Sorry, gang. The bird was needing some more corn, so I'd like to keep her quiet while we're having the service. So sorry about that. All right. So if you are like anything that you hear, whether it's me speaking or Tina singing, please do the like button. And if you love something that you hear, send us hearts, because we love love. And if something really inspires you, really hits you, then don't forget about the wow button. So right now I would like to introduce Tina to you, singing The Art of Peace by Karen Drucker.
Let's fear, believe in. It's the art of peace. It's the art of peace. Knowing co-creation is a victory to the light. Sent through transformation, where peace is shining bright. Lights above illusion, and see with spirit's eye. Replace fear and confusion, and your heart will be energized. It's in everyone, it's an art. Let fear be. It's the art of peace. It's the art of peace. Peaceful coexistence, with no thoughts of waging war. Keeping our spirits lifted is what we came here for. Rise above illusion and see with spirit's eyes. Replace fear and confusion, and your heart will be energized. It's in everyone. It's an art. Let fear be released. It's the art of peace. It's the art of peace. It's in everyone. It's an art. Let fear be released. It's the art of peace. It's the art of peace. Let trouble cease. It's the art of peace. It's the art of peace. It's the art of peace.
Thank you, Tina. That was a beautiful job. Karen Drucker will be very proud. That was one of Karen Drucker's songs, The Art of Peace. She has gifted us with her entire collection of 20 songs or 20 albums. So thank you very much.
I hope that you hear a track.
We're having some technical difficulties. For those of you just joining us, we're having some technical difficulties this morning, as well as a bird.
All sides.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
So, as I said before, we're on the Back to Basics series. Have the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. And today is what it does. Let me go give the bird one more piece of corn here. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Oz, why don't you talk a little bit about what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks? Oh, he's not there. Okay. Faith, how about you? You remember what we've been talking about?
So we've been talking about the intro into what the basics of the religion is. And let me pull Tucker out of this real quick. So I'm put on the spot here. I'm not good at this kind of stuff. So, oh, hey, here she is. She's back.
You always think you're not good at it. She was my assistant in my other business before she went back to school, and she used to do these Facebook Live things, and she always said, "Oh, I do a terrible job." No, you don't. You're actually very good. So the first week was the thing itself. And that is that there is an indwelling presence within each of us that is the thing itself. And our bodies and our lives have this divine blueprint that is the truth about us, and that's where we live from. The human doingness of us is supported by that spiritual being within us. And then the second week, we talked about the way it works, and that is through love and law. Not love like we're used to experiencing, but an impersonal love, not one that chooses one person over another. It is impersonal in that it absolutely loves us no matter what. Okay, we have free will, so it lets us go out and flag down cars to get hit by if that's what we want to do. So we can learn whatever lesson we feel like we need to learn. We don't believe in a 911 God that's going to come and rescue us, but we believe in that love being in us, through us, and as us, and that it could never be done away with. We could never lose that love. We don't have to earn it. We don't need to deserve it. It is just always there. And then the law is impartial, meaning it works for everyone, regardless of color, gender, orientation. It doesn't matter. It works the same for everyone. Just like if I were to go and flip on a light switch and someone else would come around and flip on that same light switch, it's going to work no matter who uses it. Gravity is the same way. We are all subject to the gravitational pull of the earth. And so God is the name that we give to universal spiritual law, just like gravity is one of the names we give to physical law. And so today we're going to talk about what it does. I think one of the things it does is it creates transformation versus change. Now, the difference is change is something that, I can change my mind, I can change my world, I can change whatever I want, but I can always change it back. When we are truly transformed, there's no going back. We are transformed from the inside out. It's not about the outer circumstances. It's not about what we see or think or feel. It is absolutely who we are. We become that. And that's what transformation is. And, I don't know about any of you, but I used to be really, really good at separating myself. I was a different person when I was with my friends than I was with my family, than I was at work. Everybody saw a different version of me. And that's kind of like we separate ourselves out in the world. That's what we do. And the truth of the matter is that's just the human doingness of us. There is a spiritual beingness that is in us that connects all of us. And that is truly who we are. And so I believe that what this teaching does is it brings us to the oneness of life. Instead of compartmentalizing ourselves, we realize that there is one thing that bonds all of that together, that connects it all, and it connects me to and through other people in all circumstances. And it's so funny because we have this idea, one of the ways we compartmentalize is we have this idea that something is either spiritual or not spiritual. And that it just isn't true. Everything is spiritual. One time we had this convention in Las Vegas. And it was really interesting because they set us up in this hotel called the Alexis Park, I think it was called. And because it didn't have a casino, because they wanted to have a spiritual experience, right? So we had the pleasure and privilege of paying $149 a night for this place. And so I get there and the guy takes my luggage from the car to the bell stand. I give him $5 and I walk in and, I check into my room and then I go to the bar because that's what we do. We go to the bar so that we can hang out and wait for everybody to get there. There's 400 of us. So, sometimes it's a lobby, sometimes it's a bar, whatever. And so we were just about to do dinner. So I thought, okay, I'll go to my room and I'll change for dinner. And so I go to my room and there's no luggage there. So I call up the bell desk and I'm like, can you deliver my suitcases? And they're like, we tried to deliver them, but you weren't there. And I said, well, can't you deliver them when I'm not here? And they're like, well, we work for tips. Real spiritual, right? And so I said, okay, just bring them now. I'm here. So he brings it and I tip him again. And then I'm trying to get ready to go to dinner. And then come to find out this place, the only restaurant that they have there has like 12 tables. And there's 400 of us, right? And they're only open from 5 to 7. And so we're all running around to various places that have casinos, by the way, to get some dinner before the thing starts at 7. So at 7 o'clock, we go to our function, and at 9 o'clock, we come out of our meeting and I go to the front desk and I said, is it possible to, or is the hot tub or the whirlpool and the steam room open? And they said, no, it closes at 9. And I said, well, is it possible for you to leave it open for us? Because our meetings generally run from, anywhere till 9 or 10. And they said, yeah, bring us somebody with a checkbook. Okay, I get it. And so I went over, and we're not allowed to have coffee in the room. They don't have a coffee maker in the room. So I went into the bar and I said, how old is that coffee? And the bartender says, really old. And I said, well, can you make me a new pot? And he said, no, we're about to close. Okay. So I go back to my room and the lights are so dim that I couldn't even unpack my suitcase. I had to have a flashlight to unpack my suitcase. So by the morning, I had pretty much had it with this place. And so Lynn and I were checking out the next morning, along with several other people. And of course, you know, the people who put on the event were like, well, you can't leave. If you leave, we won't get the conference rooms for free. And I'm like, well, that's wonderful. You know, good luck with that. Because why should I pay $149 a night just so you can have free conference rooms, you know? And so Lynn and I checked into the Sahara for $30 a night. The restaurant was open 24 hours. I could get steak and eggs for $3.99. I could have a coffee pot in my room, so I could have coffee anytime I wanted. And with the money we saved from that, we were able to rent a car so we could go back and forth. So anyway, the next day we're there with everybody and we're kind of sitting in the lobby, and the adults, you know, were talking about, you know, why they booked this place, because it's, you know, more spiritual because it doesn't have a casino. And as usual, teenagers are so cool. Teenagers, you know, you teach them things, right, Faith? You teach them things, and then what do? They go, you need to live by this too. And you're like, okay, got it. They're really great at teaching us what we've taught them. And so one of the adults said something about, you know, wanting to have a more spiritual experience, and that's why we're at the Alexis Park. And one of the teenagers looks them dead in the face and says, I thought God was in everything. Isn't God in the casinos too? And of course, Dr. Kathleen Vogt and I are laughing because, well, it was one of our people anyway, but we were laughing because it was so dead on, you know, and the other adults were all upset, you know, nobody likes to be told, you know, practice what you teach, right? And so they were kind of upset, but Dr. Kathleen Vogt and I had a really good laugh at all of that. But that's the truth. We can't divide the world into spiritual and not spiritual, because we then begin to have a not spiritual experience. I can tell you that entire time I was at the Alexis Park was not spiritual for me. And what I think this teaching does is to allow us to have a spiritual experience no matter what is going on and no matter what we're doing. And so when I look around at all the turmoil that's going on in the world at the moment, one of the things I have to remember is that this is all just human doingness. And in the background is a spiritual beingness that we all participate in. And I have to keep reminding myself that that is where we live. We don't live in the world of effect. We don't live, in this world where all of that imperfection lives, the human doingness of the world. We live in the spiritual beingness of the world. Ernest Holmes said, every man stands in the shadow of a mighty mind, pure intelligence, and a divine givingness. Yet we allow ourselves to be distracted by a world that is filled with the appearance of limitation and disappointment. Now, sometimes we interpret or label this appearance as evil or harmful or sinful. In New Thought, you know, we call it the dark side or shadow material. And we talk about ways that we can get away from that. And in Native American tradition, they call it the shadow world. But darkness is only the inability to see. It doesn't have a life force of its own. For instance, cats see in the darkness. Now, they can see something that we can't see because we are trying to find something in a different way. Cats just walk into the room and see, okay? It's their perception that allows them to see in the darkness. Now, age of technology has provided us with flashlights and scopes, so we can see in the dark. But the principle is that God is always there, whether we see it or not, whether we feel it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not. It's always there, just like the light. It has always been there. The darkness was just covering it up. And if God is all there is, then it's part of our makeup. And that's why I find it very hard to believe that the Garden of Eden story is probable. It's not that it's impossible, but I think it's improbable. Because God can never not see anything. God is omnipresent. No matter what faith you come from, you know that God is omnipresent. And if it's omnipresent, then it sees everything, right? And so when you think about the Garden of Eden as God didn't see something and then it saw something, you realize that that's more of an improbability. But we have to allow it to work through us instead of looking for the rescue 911. I'm going to have to do something about this bird. Hang on 1 second. Let's see. Faith, just say hi.
Been here for a sec. So what's really awesome about this series that we're going through is we're connecting it to all the different religions and how every religion that we see so differently can be connected through spirituality, through this idea and spiritual background. Oh, hi.
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 You want to do the sermon?
No. Have fun.
Well, hopefully Peaches will behave herself now. When I realized that the universe is a universe of spiritual goodness, that's when I began to experience life as good. Now, what's really interesting is we can set ourselves up for a good experience or a bad experience. I remember, have you ever had one of those jobs where it's like time to go, but you are afraid to give it up for whatever reason? Maybe you think, you need the money, or, what will I do with my life if I give this up? Well, I've had several of those jobs where I stayed long after I should have. And I was at Scientific Software, and it literally, getting up in the morning and going to work was horrible. I would get up in the morning and think, I do not want to go there again. I just can't make myself go. And so, of course, I was always late. And at some point, Scientific Software merged with a company called Intercomp. And when they did that, they were eliminating positions that were duplicates. And so I didn't have a degree, and the other person who was doing technical writing had a degree. So it was, obviously I was the choice to leave. But what was funny was, so the guy from Human Resources calls me in, and he's like, I'm sorry, we're going to have to let you go. And he kept apologizing, and he was like trying to make it okay for me. And I ended up comforting him. I said, I'm going to be fine. You're fine. No worries, And so then Lynn and I packed up my boxes and, cleaned out my cubicle. And then we went to see Star Wars, the very first Star Wars. And I was standing in line in Star Wars. And what I realized was that was the first time in a year and a half that I felt a sense of relief, that I could breathe, because I needed to leave that job long before all of that happened. And I've had a lot of those kind of experiences where you're done, but you keep holding on. And the truth is that we need to trust. Like my lesson in all of that was to trust the universe that I would find another job that was better for me, provide more money, and, would be more consistent with how I live my life. But also, if we judge something as bad or good, or, if we think we're going to have a negative experience, that's exactly what we're going to have. So one time I was board president at Sacred Circle Church while I was still in the school of ministry, and board presidents don't get to vote. So everybody on the board wanted to do this board retreat at this mountain cabin up in Aspen Park. And it was one of the board members' cabins, right? And, I'm not a mountain girl. I'm a beach girl. And so the idea to me was like, oh, okay. And then she started explaining that there was no running water in the cabin. So we had to bring jugs of water to sluice down the toilet. And that there weren't enough beds for all of us. There were 7 of us on the board, and there was only 2 beds. And so we were all going to need to bring sleeping bags and sleep on the floor, which for some people is a wonderful experience, not for me. But since I didn't get a vote because I was the board president, I just had to go along for the ride. Well, can I tell you how negative I was interpreting this entire experience? And so I left a little bit late, and it began to snow. And I get up to Aspen Park, the area of Aspen Park, and they had balloons on the freeway where you turn in, and I turned in, and I thought I knew where I was going, and she had said, be careful, because the moose are right now breeding and the bears are gathering food for hibernation. So don't get out of your car until you're at our property. I'm like, okay. And so I get there and I think I know where I'm going and I get lost. And I'm driving around in circles and driving around in circles in the snow, in the cold. And I look down and my gas tank is almost empty. And I drove around for literally 2 hours. And I kept going, like I got out of the car at one point. I went up to this house because the lights were on and I'm knocking on the door. And all of a sudden I hear these moose braying in the background. And I'm like, oh no. So I jump in the car and I go, and so I'm like afraid to get out again. And I keep going by this one property that has this golden retriever who's in the house and he's looking at me out through this plate glass window. And I keep thinking, okay, well, sooner or later, those people have to come home. They have a dog in the house. I didn't think about self-feeding and I didn't think about probably a doggy door. What I kept focused on was, that they were going to come home at some point. And I kept going around and around and around. And finally, I started to cry and then I began to pray. And then I said, okay, let me go back out to the freeway and start again. So I went out, I found my way back to the freeway where the balloons were. And then I pulled back in and I stopped at the first property I saw and I laid on that horn, just laid on it, and out comes this guy. And I burst into tears to tell him the whole story. And he says, I think I know where you want to go. I'm like, okay. He didn't know Jeannie. He didn't know, And so he leads me up to this house. I get there. He leaves. Of course, the board retreat is now over, well, close to being over, because it took me 3 hours to get there. And so I had rented a cabin for the night because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that whole experience. So I rented this cabin in Aspen Park proper. So I made my way back down the mountain and out the freeway and down to Aspen Park. And I get in this, they only had a 20-person cabin left. So there's like 4 couches, this huge room. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then the moose started in, but because I wasn't out in it, I could just relax and enjoy it and just listen to it. So that was the first nice thing that had happened through this entire process. The next morning I get up and I go up to her house and I look, and on one side of me, this road is only big enough for one car. On one side of me is this cliff going up, and on the other side of me is a drop like 60 feet. Now, because I wasn't even thinking about that, I didn't even realize that it was dark, it was snowing, I didn't know anything. I realized, how blessed I was that I even got there at all, that I didn't fall down the mountain. Then I get there and I somewhat enjoyed the board retreat the next day, that whole day and that night. And then I went back home. But what happened to me was that I had said from the outset, that's not my kind of experience. And because I was so negative about it, that's what I created. I created a very negative experience. All the other board members enjoyed it, had a great time, felt like it was perfect. And so my resistance to having a good time caused me not to have a good time. So what we need to remember is not to judge situations, circumstances, as bad or good, or set aside or set the intention that we're going to have a negative experience. Because I know you all heard of the law of attraction. Well, that's exactly what happens. If I think something's going to be negative, I'm going to have a negative experience. If I think everything's going to be positive, or if I'm open even to a positive experience, then I can create a positive experience for myself. Now, it's not like, we all make arrangements with people and then later think, oh, I really don't want to go. And so you don't go, oh, I don't want to go. Yippee, I'm going. It isn't kind of like that. But what it is, okay, I'm going to go. I'm going to have the experience. I'll let it be whatever it is. Because it isn't good or bad. It isn't positive or negative. It is what it is. And so in religious science, that's what we teach. To accept what is without judging it. Because you don't do yourselves any favors to judge it. Obviously, you're not going to, even if you judge it as good, you're not going to have the experience that you want to have if you've judged it ahead of time. You want to be open to whatever that experience is. So judgment is a big piece of this. What it does, it removes that judgment. For instance, there was this lady born in 1880s, and if you think about what it was like for women in 1880s, women were not allowed an education. They weren't allowed to own property. They were treated as property themselves. And the best that any woman could hope for was to get married to someone who had property, who would treat them well, not beat them, and, that they could live a somewhat happy life. That was the best that they could hope for. So this woman born in the 1880s, when she was about 18 months old, had this horrible virus or bacteria or something, some illness that caused her to be deaf and blind. Now, most people, and she did for a time, she saw only limitation in her life. But then Annie came into her life and showed her that her life could be something else. And she ended up getting a degree. She ended up, you're familiar with the story of Helen Keller, right? She ended up getting a degree. She ended up influencing millions of people by her tenacity, by her inability to see her limitations. She saw possibilities everywhere. And she taught people to expect possibilities and not to look at themselves as limited. I would love to be able to leave a legacy like that, wouldn't you? And speaking of legacies, I do want to acknowledge the passing of the notorious RGB. She changed the world. Women really didn't have much rights until the notorious RGB decided to get involved. And she became the first woman, well, I think she was the second woman. Sandra Day O'Connor was the first. She became the second woman on the Supreme Court. And she managed to make sure that women had a seat at the table. And again, wouldn't you want to leave a legacy like that? She didn't see limitations. She didn't go, well, I'm a woman, so there's just no way that's going to happen. They're not going to let me on the Supreme Court. She didn't do it that way. She said, anything's possible, and I'm going to see what I can do. I can see what's possible. And so I think that as a tribute to notorious RGB, that's what we need to do, especially this week, is to focus on what's possible, not focus on our limitations. God gave us the gift of life, and we can use that to give that gift back to the world, but it can also benefit us. I think what Science of Mind does for us is to remove the limitations, the loneliness, the expectations, the disappointment, and the arbitrariness of the world. Because the world really isn't arbitrary. We think it is, but it really isn't. But we start believing that it is because it seems to be. And so when we're willing to be open to the idea of possibility and to not focus on those things that we don't want to see in our life, we focus on what we do want to see. That's how the law of attraction works. You hear a lot about it. They have it on TikTok. There's always stuff going on about law of attraction, but nobody really truly understands it. They just, it's become a buzzword. And really what the law of attraction says, what you focus your attention on is what you create more of. So again, if we're judging something as negative, then we're attracting negativity into our lives. If we are focused on positive, the preponderance of our thought is focused on positive, then we attract positive to us. And that's how you work it, whether it's for love or for health or for money. You don't work it like, I'm just going to say these affirmations and it's going to counteract all those negative things that are going on in my head. It's not as simple as they make it out to be. Now, I'm not saying don't follow the affirmations, because the affirmations are great. But if you remember, let's see, I'm going to pull this back up. So I want you to remember this from week 1. Where did it go? Actually, week 2, I think it was. Let me pull this back up. There it is. Okay, so this is the way Science of Mind works. This is the way the world works. This is the way God works. This is the way our mind works. We have this unbroken circle, and it's separated into 3 parts. The top part is conscious mind. And in conscious mind, those are the ideas, the hopes and dreams that we set our intentions for. This is where we set our intentions, is in this top part. In the second part is the subjective mind, where all of the experiences we have ever had are housed there. And all of the reactions we've ever had to those experiences is housed there. And then the bottom part is the manifestation part. So think about the law of attraction here for a minute. If all you're doing is saying affirmations in this conscious mind part, but in your subjective mind, you have everything bouncing back. You have I now receive $100,000 a year or more. And I say that 100 times a day. And in this subjective mind, what I have is, nope, you don't deserve that. What do you think is going to happen? It's never going to make it down to this bottom part. It's never going to manifest as anything. So affirmations are great, but you also have to work with the shadow material, which is housed in this subjective mind. And that's what we talked about last week a lot, because there's a lot in that subjective mind that is keeping us from our good. And so we have to not only do the affirmations, but we have to understand what we have that's limiting us, what we are doing, thinking, believing, feeling that is limiting those affirmations from actually making it into the manifest world. And that's what the law of attraction is. In the 50s, there was actually a movie about this with Sidney Poitier as Thurgood Marshall. He had this movie called Separate But Equal. That was about South Carolina in the 50s. And what was really true is they were busing kids, white kids, they were busing to better schools. And the black kids were limited to schools that didn't have supplies, that the teachers weren't as qualified. They were all in one room. And, there really wasn't an opportunity for them to prosper. And so, Thurgood Marshall wanted to give the black kids the same rights as the white kids and allow them to bus. And what South Carolina said was, oh, no, you can't do that, because that's one district that they live in, like 15, and that district that you're talking about is District 23. So we can't bus them from 17 or 15 to 23. And so Thurgood Marshall then decided, okay, fine, then I'm going to, rewrite the law. I'm going to see what I can do about getting that law rewritten that says separate but equal. And so what he did, he made it all the way up to the Supreme Court. And what won his case was this psychologist who rounded up a bunch of black kids. And he had these 4 dolls. One was a white male, one was a white female, one was a black male, and one was a black female. And he said, which doll looks the most like you? And of course, they identified the black doll, whether that was female or male. And then he said, which doll do you like? And 65% of them picked the white male doll, whether they were male or female. They picked the white male doll. And then he said, which doll do you think is ugly? And 65% of them picked the black doll that was their gender. And so what that told the Supreme Court is that these kids would never amount to anything as long as they had this negative self-idea, negative self-concept. And so the Supreme Court said, all right, so now we need to make it equal. Not separate, but equal. And that's what began the combination of schools in South Carolina. I don't know that they did forced busing like we did here in Colorado, which didn't work, by the way. But it opened the schools so that the black kids could get a better education. They could go to a classroom that had plenty of supplies. They could be taught by teachers who really knew what they were doing, and they would have the opportunity for a better life. But that's really what it's about. If we judge ourselves as not worthy, or if we judge ourselves as ugly, or if we judge ourselves as not enough, then we've already set ourselves up to not be able to experience the kind of life that is God-given, literally God-given. I mean, we're all made of the same stuff, right? So we're made of God's stuff. So that is who and what we are. And we are made in the image and likeness of God, not only our physical appearance, but in our ability to use the power of God in our life. And so we can choose to use it for good or evil, is how I like to put it. We can choose to use that power for good in setting up a beautiful life for ourselves. But we have to work with that subjective material that says I'm not good enough, that says I'm ugly, that says I don't have enough education, that says I can't get an education, that says I don't have enough money, that says I, don't have perfect health. Any of those things that are located in that subjective mind are going to keep us from being able to manifest out of the subjective mind. And that's how the law of attraction actually works. If we focus our attention on things we don't like about our lives or ourselves, then we attract more of that to us. But we can always look in the mirror and find one thing that's attractive, can't we? I mean, maybe it's your eyes, maybe it's your eyebrows, maybe it's your ears, I don't know. Or we can look at our lives and see the beauty instead of seeing what doesn't work. Be thankful for something in your life. There's always got to be something that you can be thankful for, even if it's matching socks, which I'm sure Faith will laugh at because she likes non-matching socks. So be thankful for your non-matching socks. We can also see beyond the limitations of our life, just like Helen Keller did, just like RGB did. For those of you who don't know what RGB stands for, because you might be from Europe, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was a Supreme Court justice, has passed away at the age of 87. And she did so much in her life, and we can be like her. We don't have to follow the same pathway she did, but we can be like her and refuse to allow the limitations that we see to be that which creates the world in which we live. We can see the possibilities like she did, and we can create a better world for ourselves. We have to take responsibility for our life. It's not, we don't judge it as good and bad. We just know that we created it. And the power lives in our ability to know that if we created it, we can uncreate it. We can create something else. We don't have to be stuck with what we've already created. There's no, you made your bed, you lie in it. Anybody ever heard that one? I heard it a lot when I was a kid. But we can take responsibility, which means I know that I created this life. And because I know that I created this life, I have the power to create it differently. I have the power to actually do something about it. There was this group of scientists back in I think it was in the 60s, who were studying the way when you shoot off a rocket ship, how it comes back to Earth. You can just allow it to, come back to Earth on its own. Or this dynamic theory that they were using used the gravitational pull of the Earth to shoot it back to Earth. And so the craft was using a negative pull to bring it back to Earth. But what we need to realize is gravity, spiritual law, electricity, any of those things, we can use those experiences to propel us to the kind of life we would like to have, to the kind of experience we deserve to have because we are beings of God. Now, one more thing about responsibility, because I really need you to understand this. Rescue 911 God. The love of God says, I will let you hurt yourself if that's what you need to do. I know that sounds kind of bad. It took my little sister, my little baby sister, actually teaching me that lesson, because I would take care of her kids, and I'm not a kid person. So I would go crazy. No, you can't do that. You might get hurt. No, don't do that. You might get hurt. I was scared to death that something would happen to them on my watch, and I wasn't having it. So my little sister, God bless her, she sat me down and gave me a good talking to about how sometimes you have to let kids put their hand on the stove so they understand heat, that it's too hot. Otherwise, they might be 40 years old and stick their hand right down on the burner and burn themselves badly. And so I had to learn to love them enough to allow them to have these experiences where they might get hurt. That was a tough one for me, I have to tell you. But that's what the love of God is like. Because we do need to experience things in our life in order to grow, in order to be the mature spiritual being we were designed to be. We can't stay that immature physical doingness, the human doingness for the rest of our, well, we can. I mean, it's our choice. But if we want the life we want, we have to recognize that we have to take responsibility and allow ourselves to learn the lessons of life. You can keep doing the same thing over and over again. There's a saying that says, The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. You can't get a different result unless you start to do things differently. And so the only way you can do that is to learn the lessons of life. Not that God is setting up lessons for you. You set up your lessons. You set up what you want to see your life be, and you know what needs to be healed in order to have that. So this week, practice with me, seeing the spiritual universe behind everything. When you hear about riots, don't think about the riot. Think about the spiritual beingness of all of life. Let yourself bask in it. Let yourself really feel it, really know it. If you see things in your life that you are maybe perhaps unhappy with, remember that there is a spiritual being inside of you that is greater than any of those appearances of the human doingness experience. Think about what it means to be a spiritual being 100% of the time. Can you practice that with me this week? I know you'll love the result. Let's have a prayer. Right now, I just move into the awareness of the peace and power of God. To that place of knowing that God is simply all there is. All there ever has been. All there ever will be. And all there is right here, right now. Only God. I breathe in the essence of life all around me. The smell of the flowers. The sight of the shimmering leaves on the trees. The breeze gently rustling the leaves. All of this is God. And it reminds me that that is the truth about life. Only God. And so that's where I find myself, my very essence, my very life, my very beingness, who and what I am. For God is the truth about me. Only God. And right now, I know that same truth to be so for my team. For my team is the one team in God. It is the power and presence of God working through the team to uplift and inspire in all that we do. And so I know that Faith and Oz and Lynn and Tina and I are that one team of God, allowing God to do its work through us. I celebrate that. I know that that is the truth of all life. I know that that is true for every person listening today, or perhaps listening later. For there is no place where one person leaves off and the other begins. The unbroken unity of life is the truth about us. It is who and what we are. And we are one in it. So I bless this coming week because I do know that that spiritual beingness is revealed to us, and we are open to seeing it, feeling it, hearing it, knowing it. That we see beyond all of the frustrations and feelings of not enough. That we see beyond all experience, all appearance to the contrary, that God is simply all there is, and that that experience, that spiritual experience, is the truth here and now. And as we focus our attention on it this week, we are blessed with an overwhelming sense of that presence in our lives. As such, more and more good unfolds, and we allow it. We celebrate it. We call it good and very good. And so every name that is in the ministry or prayer this week, I know this for as well. For I know that God is simply the truth of any condition that someone is experiencing. That all appearances to the contrary of that spiritual beingness, that divine blueprint, return back to the nothingness from which it came. And I pull forth, I pull back the curtain and I pull forth the spiritual ideal behind that. I reveal it here and now as the truth about their condition. I claim it for them in their name. I call it good and very good, and I am so grateful that this is so. My heart fills with gratitude as I just let this be. And so it is. Oh, goodness. So one of the ways that God expresses in manifest form in our lives is through abundance. And so now is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to express your gratitude for that which you have already seen in the manifest world and that which you have manifested in the mind of God but have not yet experienced in physical reality yet. So go to oasiscsl.org, and on that page, I think, Faith, when you put that in the comments, I think they can just click on that, can't they? Yeah. So you should be able to just click on that link, and it will take you to our website. In the middle of that page is going to be an offering affirmation that I'm going to have you say with us here in just a minute before you hit that Contribute Now button. Because I really want us to do this with an anticipation of the good that is ours and with a thankfulness in our heart for that which we have received. So if you're watching this after the fact, you can say it along with us right now. Go to oasiscsl.org, go to the middle of the page, and here is our offering affirmation. Say it with me now. This perfect gift is spirit and form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give, and joyously I receive. And so it is. Now you can press that Contribute Now button with that consciousness. Here's Tina.
Oh my God,
Hello?
it's a snail, that's what it is.
Ah, did it to me again. Yep. Went to the mix.
It's all about technical difficulties this morning for some reason. I don't know.
It's just no, but ever since they put cloud on my pad, that's the problem. I didn't want cloud. I don't want the Internet of Things. I want my pad to be separate from my cell phone. But I guess it's not working. It's close to it now. My next phone.
Faith was having difficulties this morning as well. She was trying to join me and couldn't get on. So, I mean, you know, it just is what it is. Not good, not bad. Not positive, not negative. And we learn to live with those little things and know that everything will be fine. This too shall pass, Tina.
No, it's not showing up. It's so weird.
I'd like you to breathe. That's what I'd like. Because I see you not breathing.
This is a different one, so I don't know what's going to happen now.
We'll just trust and know that God's working.
Upon my mountain faces fell, that's what it is. The Lord upon the garden gates is still, that's what it is. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. Caterpillar sheds his skin to find a butterfly within. Caterpillar sheds his skin to find a butterfly within. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain. Oh, Anita. Oh, Anita. Oh, Anita, I call your name. The snow will be a blinding sight to see as it lies on yonder hillside. Mark upon my garden gates the snow, that's what it is. The mark upon the garden gates the snow, that's what it is. Caterpillar sheds his skin to find a butterfly within. Caterpillar sheds his skin to find a butterfly within. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, there it is. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. And this one was higher too. Of course, this verse.
I know, I saw that, yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
I know. I tried to pick Donovan because he's a little bit lower, but you know, whatever.
You sound amazing.
I couldn't find it. I had it right in my I had it all lined up, and it's gone. I don't know why. It's just the regular one, and it has the same picture too. Whatever.
God showed up and it was perfect. Thank you, Tina. All right. So I wanted to let you know that we do have a ministry of prayer. We have a wonderful team of licensed practitioners from coast to coast who are willing to pray on any prayer requests every day for a week. And so if you have a prayer request, please do put it in the comments. If you don't want it to be public, you can direct message any one of us and we will make sure that your prayer request gets put in. We have this wonderful God Squad that's going to work on that. And you don't have to be a licensed practitioner to be on the God Squad. So if you are willing to make the commitment to pray every day for a week on those requests, hold them in confidence and actually follow through on that, we would welcome you on our God Squad, no matter what faith you are a part of. So if you would like to participate in that, please put yes in the comment section. And if you would like to be notified that about events prior to everyone else getting notified, you can put more in the comments and we will make sure that you are on the Facebook page that is public facing, that is our online community. But let me just say a little bit about our 1 Minute Miracle. Oz is available for what we call our 1 Minute Miracle today. And that means he's available for you to tell him whatever challenge you're experiencing and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. And how he does that is through video chat. So you can reach out to him through video chat. If he doesn't answer right away, please know that he's probably on with someone else and try back in a few more minutes. I want you to also know, because it's not a counseling session, that our practitioners, our licensed practitioners, are available by appointment for a fee for spiritual guidance. And just DM them and they can let you know how you can make payment and set up an appointment, and then they will reach out to you through video chat to do that. All right, so I wanted to remind everybody that part of the reason why we do the Back to Basics series is so people who are new to our philosophy can actually learn about what we teach. And so our Foundations of the Science of Mind class starts Thursdays from 7 to 10 on October 1st, and that's Mountain Time. So sign up. Faith has provided the link there, Ticket Leap for you. And then I wanted to show you the bracelets that Brooks and Bailey has, wonderful bracelets and malas that they are selling to fund the Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue. And to reach them, you would email her at brooksandbailey0307@gmail.com. And again, that is also in the comments Faith has provided. I want to let you know that Fairy Lane's music is available on her website. Faith has provided that link. Her website, for some reason, she's not able to update it. So you will have to reach out to her because we don't know, somehow or other, she can't update the address. So in order for you to purchase those, you are going to have to reach out to her by email. And also Karen Drucker's music, the Art of Peace is one of them. Again, you know, she has gifted us with 20 albums of her work, her entire work, body of work. And so we would like to support her as well. So her website does work. So you just click on it and order. And then check out our website at oasiscsl.org. It's a good way for you to find out who our practitioners are, so you can connect with one of them that you feel an affinity for. Also, we have our current video sermons listed in there, and we have past and previous audio sermons. So check all of that out. Go to our website as often as possible. We love it when you visit. All right, let's have our closing song here. We are so blessed.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed.
All right. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I want to remind you to be here next week when we learn how to use it. And Oz is going to pray us out.
Okay. And then there is one spirit pervading all of the universe, and that spirit is who we are right now. It lives and moves and breathes and has its being as each and every one of us. And as we move forward into the week, I know that we share and care that blessing everywhere we go. It touches others, it touches us. For that is the wondrous nature of God. And I give thanks that it is so, and I let it be. And so it is.
And so it
So it
is.
is.
Thank you for being here today. We love you. Bye.
Bye.